Hello everybody, welcome back to the shop. It's a little late, I'm a little tired. Been out here for, I don't know, 6 hours or so. Just kind of knocking some tasks off the list. Top front half of the mold, primed, ready to go with the Bobo-matic finger. You can see back behind it, I got the back half of the top still in the bags. One thing you probably can't see, but right there and back over here is all the fiberglass layers for that front half. So all the glass is done, the mold's prepped and primed and ready to go. I've got all the Air-X stuff cut and shaped and ready to go. You can see the majority of it stacked back there in the rest of the mold. And then down here we got vacuum bag, perforated plastic, bleeder material, and pill plot. So if y'all put two and two together, that means wham! That big boy, if I can get my finger in there, is getting molded tomorrow. So by this time tomorrow, well, I guess technically it is tomorrow, it's 12:02. So by this time Wednesday or Thursday, whatever today is, I don't remember. Friday, I don't know. Anyway, in 24 hours, this should be done. And that one should be out of the mold. Haven't decided if I'm gonna actually pull that out of the mold just to see how it worked. I'll probably leave it in there for now. I do have to make up a couple of jigs for locating the pivot brackets and the center spar in this portion of the fuselage, and I still have to cut carbon fiber stuff out, which brings up a good little how-to video. If anybody's ever cut like a crow's foot or a 2x2 twill carbon fiber, you know this stuff doesn't really stay together very well. It just kind of falls apart on the edges, or carbon fiber, even fiberglass balls in general. If it's a real loose weave, you'll sit there and you'll cut it, and more often than not, the edges of the stuff it'll just start fraying on you, and before you know it, you got all this big just jumbled mess of carbon fiber tow in your hands, and nothing to do with it. So my method of cutting really loosely woven cloth is pretty simple. Let me get up and measure how wide of a piece of cloth I need for that forward box bar in the fuselage. Because I want to put a nice hefty piece of carbon fiber across the top of the fuselage. That way it spreads out the load as much as possible. And since my plug's hanging up from the roof, I gotta get up here and measure it real quick. So if y'all just bear with me for a moment. Let's see. Yeah, 6 inches over here. Alright. So we need a piece of 6-inch cloth by some odd number of inches wide, which is where my paper plans will come in. If I can get those down. I've got stuff everywhere from the move. Y'all kind of have to bear with me. This video will be a little longer than I expected because luckily I forgot stuff. As we try to get more how-tos. I don't know if Bob's shown this method or not. It's hard to keep up with all his videos. And man, he pops them out it seems like he pops one out every 2 seconds. Which is pretty impressive because if you guys have never done these videos before, it's pretty time consuming. You spend almost as much time uploading videos that you do actually working on your project. So these are my original, basically what I started off with plan-wise for this airplane, but I've changed so much stuff. Well, the only thing that's the same is the outline. So you kind of gotta take the planes with a slight grain of salt when it comes to what we're doing here. So that's nice and wonderful. Alright, so we need a 6-inch piece of carbon, 6 inches wide by 32 inches long. That's a nice little piece of, nice chunk of casting to cut out. Let me get my this put up here and we'll get to work. Alright, so what are you going to need? Well, carbon fiber, of course. Pencil, ruler, yeah, all that good stuff. 3M77 spray adhesive. This stuff for you guys who don't know what it is. It's basically just a spray contact adhesive. And some good old wax paper. Now, why do you need spray adhesive wax paper? Well, I'll show you why here in just a second. So, first thing first, take your wax paper, open the box if you can figure out how to. And then just pull you out a piece big enough for what you want to do, and then a little extra. In this case, I need a 32-inch piece of 32-inch long strip of carbon fiber. So I'll pull off like a 36, 40-inch piece of wax paper. And get the cheapest wax paper you can. This stuff's not going to be around very long for the purposes we're using it for. So don't buy a $5 box of wax paper, or $7 or $12 or whatever. Just get some cheap $1 or $2 stuff. No need to get expensive with it. Then take your 3M77, drape your wax paper over the table, and just give it a light little dusting of spray adhesive. And do this all along the whole side, the whole piece of wax paper. The reason why I drape over the table is so I just don't get the spray adhesive, get a whole bunch of it on my table. Alright, so there you got sticky wax paper. Kind of defeats the purpose of wax paper, doesn't it? Now, take your carbon fiber, and here's where the magic happens. First you got to unpack it. On your wax paper, figure out, so we want 2 6-inch pieces. This is a 12-inch wide piece of wax paper. I just overhang it just a little bit because there's a strip of masking tape over here. Now I can move the camera and a tripod, give you guys a different perspective, a different point of view. Other zoom direction. Sticky wax paper, carbon fiber. Again, this works for really anything, but especially the real loosely woven stuff. Then just take your carbon fiber, kind of drape it over the wax paper. This is exactly what I mean over here, just a little bit of 3M77 on my fingers. Grab one of these end toes off the carbon fiber and just pull it right off. Drape it, just run your fingers over real lightly to stick it down to the wax paper. As you see, when you stick down, you can move this whole thing and the fabric moves both directions. You can pick it up and it doesn't really come off. This wax paper is going to become basically your carrier film. Then, since I'm going to be cutting off this little strip of masking tape down here, I'm going to cut up here off just a little bit. So when I go to actually put this carbon fiber in place, I'll peel this masking tape off, and or I'll cut it off right before I put it on. But I'm going to leave a little strip of wax paper on the actual carbon fiber roll. That way we have something to hold this end, the cut off end of the cloth in place without it fraying like the ends of it. So then just grab your ruler here and your rotary cutter. This one is due for a replacement of the blade. And just run right down the edge of it. And like most all carbon fiber, you got this one little edge with a carbon fiber or a Kevlar thread running through that your rotary cutter just will not go through. So here's the whole reason for the wax paper. There you go. You can pick up wax paper with your carbon fiber on it, and it stays right in place. Flip it upside down, pick it up, it stays in place on the wax paper. So now you got this nice sheet of carbon fiber that you can sit here and you can move around, you can cut it, you can wet it out if this is going to be the full size of the carbon fiber going on your plate. And basically this part, or this piece of fabric, is ready to be wet out and put in your layup. And the best thing is you don't have to worry about the ends doing that to you. See how that one's already fraying? And that's just right off the roll. You don't have to worry about that until you pull this piece of wax paper off when you put it in the mold or your layup. Don't leave the wax paper on the layup. You won't be very happy with the results from that. So that's how I do my carbon fiber stuff, and getting basically a straight line, or as straight as you think you can get it when you put the carbon fiber in the layup. That's one thing when I would see like these yellow aircraft, Bob Violet, Tom Cook, Skygate, a lot of these higher end kits from these manufacturers, you would see this carbon fiber, this nice big strip of it, and the edges were just like straight as an arrow, or they were real nice and crisp, and they weren't like all wavy or anything, and they weren't really frayed. They were just straight. I was always wondering how they did that, and a couple years of searching and researching and just composites in general, I came across a guy that mentioned that tip, and I was like, it was like a light bulb just clicking when it went off. It was like, oh, stupid simple. The easiest and the simplest stuff is always the hardest to come up with on your own, it seems. So there we go. All the glass layers are ready. Carbon fiber, I gotta cut 2 pieces off, and that'll be ready to go. Once that one part is cured in the morning and I cut our grass, I'm going to come out here and I'm gonna start laying up the last half or 2/3 or whatever you want to consider it, at the top of the fuselage. I'm gonna lay that up and, well, at least have the top of the fuselage done. Once that's done, I gotta pull the bottom molds apart. I gotta start making templates and everything. I'll probably pop out the video camera and show you guys how I make my crude templates. They're not an exact 100% fit, but they get you pretty dang close. And it's good enough for my book. So you ladies and gentlemen have a great night, and we'll see you back here in the shop tomorrow.